Ready? Ready to go? All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Jenny Max. I'm the city administrator here in Nisswa. And you are all here tonight because you probably received a letter from us and getting feedback. Sorry. I don't do this normally. There we go. Have to close the YouTube screen. Okay. So tonight, we are here to share some preliminary information that we have been working on internally as a city. One of the main focuses the city council had this past year has been doing some really intentional long-range planning, especially within our commercial corridor area of the city. And staff has been working on that and working on both infrastructure, roads, sewer, all of the things that are service providing to the public, and then internally infrastructure relating to our equipment and the things we need to service that external infrastructure. And so what we'd like to do tonight is share with you some very high level ideas that we're starting to bring together so that if and when there is development opportunity in this commercial area, that we are able to have some really meaningful and timely conversations with everyone. We know that usually when a property is looking to be developed, there's a timetable constraint and an ideal timeframe in which we want to have that done. So from a city perspective, we're trying to do some work on the front end now to get your feedback and start having those conversations. Joe Dubell is our city engineer from Woodsath. He will, I'll turn it over to him in a second, and he will share with you some of our initial concepts and ideas. Tom Blommer, our public works director, is here. He's making more copies of the plans for us. Brittany Kottner is here as well. She's our city planner. And so we certainly are here to be able to answer your questions as we go through the presentation. And likely there are going to be things that we don't have answers to tonight, but we want to get your initial feedback, questions, and continue the conversation over the next handful of months. So after Joe does a high-level presentation, we'll just open up the microphone and you can ask questions and we can talk at the maps as well, if that's easier for you, and we will go from there. We will look to finish no later than 6:30, as if it needs to go that long, as we do have a 7 o'clock meeting for a different section of our commercial area at 7 o'clock. You're welcome to stay for that as well, but that's the time frame that we're going to work with tonight. With that, I will turn it over to Joe.
Thank you. I'm going to put the mic over here. Yeah, she'll put the map up, I think. This first meeting is for the Northwest Corridor, and that has to do with this area here. One of the things that's happening going on there for long range wise was at first we were looking at this corridor where you come into Common Drive to look at bringing the backage road there. The first time we were looking at it was to just bring a backage road that would come over to 77. And then we started discussing it. Someone also came up with the idea that the DOT has a pit back here, along with a possible proposed recycling center that might go back there, plus the public works is back here, such that it might be a better idea to bring that backage road all the way through and relieving the traffic that's within the residential area. So basically, that's kind of the north backage road long range plan of what we're trying to do there. Some of these people already may know or not know, but the reason for this meeting tonight was at least the people that were involved that we'd be seeking easement for possibly would, they could have some questions. So for this first section, that's pretty much, excuse me, there's one other part to this too, is we are doing the sanitary down here for a long term. I was going to take that up in the second session we had, but the water main, as far as municipal utility, that's kind of been the issue too. It's come to the attention of the city that some people do want it. And so we're gonna look at what that would entail. And I don't know if I don't have the whole section here, but it's gonna, on the north section, it'll go up and around, come down. That's our study area for the north section. And then down here, that map and these maps, you can see that they go. So that we're just starting to study, and we'll have a lot more answers for that as January, I believe, is we're trying to anticipate having that done. And I guess with that, I'll take any questions.
With the, sorry, John Holberg, so I'm just right, our old Holberg lumber is just situated right at 371, across from Nisswa Marine, just north of Wendy's. And so my question is, with the idea of the back of the road then, are you gonna cut off access to commercial enterprises off of 371, or that access still be available?
That would be determined. I think the closer they are to if we're going to get DOT support, the closer they are to the intersection, the more they would want to see that done. But that isn't written in stone. The idea of the first one was to relieve that intersection so that you could come back around off of 77 to get in there. But that. They do not want to see a lot of entrances, right on, right offs, crossings. The more that they can eliminate, the better they are. The closer they are to the intersection, the more probable is something that they would entertain.
Has the frontage road been considered for that location as opposed to I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not thrilled about the road running right through our property.
No.
On the back side of our property. I would see where the Department of Transportation might want it, so to eliminate access from the highway. And so, I guess my proposal would be to put an access road on the highway side, even if it was a one-way road. Solves the DOT's issues. I don't see a huge reason for the road on the backside.
Well, it's the original backage road concept came from the 2001 study of the 371 back. And at that point, it was looked at to be coming back from around here and through to do the backage road to relieve the traffic. This idea came along with it because there's a lot of residential usage coming through with trucks and that. And the same goes for trying to pull off some of this. Some of these people get off here, come through here to get to this area. And that's kind of the reason for that. You have, if I recall, that's just an exit on with no service road. Just for you, yeah. So that might be a discussion point. We'll just leave it at that, right? We're early enough on in this that I wouldn't want to make any commitment either way. Come on, somebody ask me something.
In regards to these, as far as
Question. I don't follow.
well, with the back road, if we look at the access on 371 as far as Hazelwood Drive, will that continue through or on the south side of Hazelwood?
That's kind of what it would push towards, but like I said, nothing is. They want it. They wouldn't want to support a backage road without doing some safety measures of addressing some of the right on, right offs and intersections that are coming on. And like I said, the closer you are to a main intersection, the more they would like to, safety wise, close.
But the question is then, okay, if that proposed out there, but on 77, what happens?
You're saying without using this road would still get to there that way?
Right, but what I'm
You
saying
still
is,
have a right off here?
is there gonna be any changes to Hazelwood Drive or proposed changes to Hazelwood Drive?
We wouldn't need to change Hazelwood Drive for the Backage Road. That's coming off of Commons.
Well, that's what I'm asking, is but then where we exit off Hazelwood now on the south, would that be eliminated?
Potentially, yes. This, you're talking right here. This one, yes, potentially, that would be. I would say that participation wise, again, if we're to expect any kind of assistance through the DOT, their main objective is to make it more safe. So they would want to see what we want to do, intend. So those would be options that would come up. Oh, this one, yeah, no, I didn't.
So I don't know if any of you are familiar with, the crossover going over to Subway. We've had one of the business owners in that business block there came to the city council with a concern about accidents that have been happening crossing over. So that intersection, I expect is going to change somehow to alleviate the risk of accidents there. Because there's at least one that's been a life flight incident. So I think at a minimum, you'll see maybe that crossover go away. It might be a right in, right out. Not sure what it'll take with MnDOT. They'll have their own criteria for what intersections to close. If the past is any indicator, when they 4-lane 371 through here, they were hoping to close all of them or a good portion of them. The idea is to eventually get everybody to a lighted intersection as much as possible.
So potentially, if all that would happen, potentially Hazelwood Drive purchase would either have to come in off of the lengths of Nisswa or the 77.
Those would be their two best ones. I think I don't know about the intersection down at, bear with me, I'm trying to think of the name of the road, the little creek road where, what's that? Yeah. That one might remain, I don't know. Every one of those intersections would likely be a point of discussion with MnDOT. When we have our first meeting with them.
Any other questions?
Gary Harris and representative planning and development. Has there been a time schedule set for, let's say this Backage Road is the project that the city is going to pursue? Is there going to be in the next year, 2 years, 5 years? Schedule established?
I guess as Jenny indicated at the beginning, we're pretty high level here right now. And because of the interconnection of all the projects that we're kind of discussing right now, we wanted to get all this out to see what was being looked at now, so that at least everybody has an idea of what's happening, instead of piecing it together with, well, we're going to talk about a Backage Road here. We're going to be talking later about a Backage Road down here, the sewer that's here, possible water, municipal water, and then there's some other projects like the recycling center that's intermixed with it. So all those things are kind of all happening and being discussed right now. So we thought it best to bring it up all of it kind of at a whole piece and see how that, we can get some questions generation. We can feel for what the city thinks about it, some of the constituents.
Back roads are gonna open up property for development. So we're seeing activity very quickly following that. Trying to be prepared for it.
There's a talk about developments and there's, you know, a lot of that's generating this conversation, but nothing's,
Access causes development.
huh?
I say access causes development.
Yep. Well, I'm sure.
I would say too, you know, because we're seeking MnDOT's funding on this, will be subject to their budget schedule, so.
And with the DOT on, you know, things won't happen as quickly as they may happen. It's a,
So this isn't something that anyone has to comment on right off the bat tonight, but as Joe mentioned, we are in the beginning stages, or I should say WIDSAP is, for doing a feasibility study for a city water system. We would love your input and your feedback on if that's something that you would like to see in your property area, if you wouldn't. These are, you know, very significant conversations and questions, and we do want your input to know how to move forward. So that will be coming in the next couple months. So, you know, please keep an eye out for that information, but reach out to anybody, you know, tonight or anytime after tonight as well. We want to be able to have the information to you and ready for you when you need it. And so that's part of that too.
I think we're gonna have more of a working information meeting too, that'll come up at the next Public Works Commission. So if between now and then that you did have questions, maybe an opportune time to show too, I think.
Anybody have any questions regarding the proposed route that we're looking at? Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I'm just looking at the ocean, I mean, you know, with the Wausau homes, looks like that back and forth, basically take the whole business here.
So that route, at least at that intersection, has been on various plans for a number of years, long before I ever started working for the city. And one of the main reasons you see it there is it was shown lining up with the airport road that's there now. And the idea is it would need to be back a ways. You know, at one point, MnDOT and the county had talked about building a roundabout at that intersection too. And so it needs to be back away from 371 far enough to, whether it's a roundabout or a lighted intersection, if need be, there need to be enough room for stacking and maneuverability. So I think that's probably the most logical spot for it to come through. Unless somebody has a better idea, but that's our best guess on it right now.
Back road is over or goes through.
So because it's commercial, we would look at providing sewer, and if the water system becomes a reality, we would look at options for that too. The other thing that's not indicated is both of the backage roads potentially would have a bike trail attached to them. It would be a separated trail because of the right of way that MnDOT would like to see.
Yeah, they are proposed to it. Right now, we're looking at an 80-foot right away instead of a 66-foot right away, just because it's more commercial orientated.
Tonnage too, it would be, both roads would be constructed for truck traffic. So,
Do you have any idea where the water tower is going?
no specific place yet, but
Well, we're still working on that study, so we've just started it.
somewhere in the neighborhood of that intersection of 77, 13 and 371 makes the most sense. at least logistically, it's centrally located. It allows us to branch off and along major road corridors easily. And it's also, I think it's also a relative high point in the city. We'll be looking to identify possible properties that would be useful for that. Should the project gain traction. Any specific comments about water? Any plus, minus, thoughts, interests, needs? Any questions about sewer maybe along that right away?
Pro, con, water.
But those roads be all
If we were to do the backage road, I think for the size and structure of that road with the city, we would be putting curb in.
When it comes to the water system, are you looking at the entire city of Nisswa? Because there's a lot of rural properties out there that can be affected by that.
Initially, no. I think we're looking at mostly the commercial areas. Yeah. Grandview has expressed some interest, so that area down there, the central business district, where Schaefer's and Holiday and Wendy's are. Then downtown here for the school and some other things that might need it.
I also represent 16 owners over at White Pine Villas.
Oh,
13. And we just had our annual meeting this week, but the question comes up about water and sewer and things like that.
however, we built,
We're too much about it for a while.
probably not for quite a while, but if we do pursue a water system, it will be built to be easily expanded. So should there be a need or a want to have that service somewhere else, we would
We
have at least an opportunity to provide it.
The constant headache. Certainly would have to take a close look at this.
Yeah.
Would there be a requirement to stop the water?
If it will be, excuse me. It will be handled a lot like the sewer system was. So if we run water lines past the front of your property, there will likely be a requirement to hook up because of the expense to run those lines. Much like the sewer system too, we would probably figure out some kind of a period that you're required to hook up. So like, for instance, with the sewer system, they allowed initially up to 20 years. That may be a bit long, but maybe it's 5 years or 10 years. So it won't be an automatic instant thing. We would probably work with the existing landowners. Otherwise, the other way we've looked at it, we put sewer in Hazelwood. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But the way the agreement worked on that is as the properties are sold. So if they didn't want sewer to begin with, as those properties come up for sale, then at that time they'd be required to hook up.
That's the problem, those brewers, you just,
I can imagine.
your beer might be set.
With the water, you're gonna look at changing the building zoning ordinances, building size, sprinkler system. Heights requirements, if you have city water for fire suppression.
I think it will be considered, but that's more the planning and zoning department. Maybe Jenny or Brittany can speak to that.
The only one that I could foresee potentially being changed would be that building height requirements. At that time, it's really going to come down to the planning commission as far as aesthetics goes, if they're willing to do the 3-story change or not. Apart from just height, I don't foresee this causing any ordinance changes, at least not that come to mind, so.
And those are certainly great conversations to have, at some point, before maybe have projects coming forward or ideas, because as you know, we have to go through a set of meetings and, requirements and things like that. Some of those things can just be considered substantive changes within the city, and oftentimes, need a larger buy-in, a group of people to have those conversations. But certainly we recognize that the city's changing and growing, and we need to look at things a little bit differently, and that's important to do that. And so I certainly would support that. It kind of goes back to the support that we want to hear from you, and we want to know the things that you're looking to do or that you'd like us to start talking about, so that we have the time to work through what that might mean to the city, our comprehensive plan, all of those pieces come together the right way. So anytime anyone has an idea for an ordinance amendment change, though, you can certainly request that or ask the question, and we'll work with you to see what we can do about that. If it's more specific than just one project, I think that's what we look for, is to know that this has a broader impact to the community and a benefit. That's usually where, we'll say, let's keep working towards that change. So absolutely, anytime, feel free to reach out to us. And the maps on the walls do show the delineation with the water proposed area, the feasibility study we're working on, and the yellow is the sewer with the new lift station we're looking at. So that will be, feel free to look at those as well, because that might help give you a picture for kind of what our vision is and what we're looking to do.
You said a bike trail might go along both of these roads. Is there like a city better bike trail or anything for like the county, even along 77 back to Greenview? So people do a loop, or if they
Yes.
all dump out down there on holiday, they have somewhere to go. And do we know the time on Lower White Lake Road for the bike trail?
So big picture answer is yes, we want to make sure as we add any road or even just mill and overlay basic improvements on our roads, that we're asking the question about the trail to make sure that we're not missing an important piece down the line. For brand new roads, we should look at that and see if it makes sense to add a trail or not. So we haven't obviously gotten that far into the details, but we certainly want to make sure that we're asking the right questions. As far as the Gull Lake Trail, we are still on track to hopefully start construction next year, but we do have some things we're working on with that too, and there's just a lot of pieces moving forward with that with the city of Lakeshore. But as of right now, yes, we are moving forward with that. And we are also going to be working with the county to see if we can connect the trail from Lower Roy Lake Road all the way to 371, especially with the roundabout that will go in front of Grandview in a couple of years as well. So if we can tie all of that together. The county has also mentioned that they are looking to do some improvements on 77 from the intersection to the city limits over in Lakeshore. So there's a lot that's going to happen in that area in the next couple of years. So we want to make sure to take that opportunity. So yes. I think it'd be great to build in different loops throughout the city for the trail. That would be, I think, a goal of our Parks Department as well, and provide that amenity.
You're welcome to after the meeting. If you want to come up individually and ask a question, I'll be available for that too.
Absolutely. Feel free to look at the maps. And we're here, so feel free to ask us questions and reach out to us anytime. We appreciate you being here tonight. Please, Dave. Yep.
I'm Dave Reese. I'm with Woodseth. Mainly, I'm working with the Planning Commission. But there was one question earlier on about whether it should be a frontage road or a backage road. And one school of thought on that from the engineering point of view is just how best to serve the most properties that you can with the utilities specifically, but also with the roads. And it's more efficient from the standpoint of the engineering point of view to look at the backage road versus the frontage road, where you have basically frontage on one side with the state highway, no one to serve there. So that's one point. I'm not saying pro or con at this stage. It's just a point to consider.
Well, we'll just let you feel free. Of course, we'll be here. You can look at the maps and we'll just be available for questions. Otherwise, thanks for coming. We appreciate your time.